Did you know that we're on social media? You can find us at facebook.com/criminallylisted and at criminally_listed on Instagram. Make sure you follow us to stay up to date on the latest news. Number 3. Adele. Adele has certainly had to deal with her fair share of unwanted attention and guests. That was the whole point of her renting a giant mansion in West Sussex in 2011. Adele was coming off having won awards, recognition, and major fame when she moved into her new home. But it seems like the unwanted guests found their way into her mansion. In 2011, Adele released her album, 21. The album, including the songs Rolling in the Deep, Set Fire to the Rain, and of course, Someone Like You, took over the charts. With 21, Adele won awards at the American Music Awards, the Billboard Awards, the Brit Awards, and the Grammy Awards. And this was only her second album. It was her follow-up to 2008's album, 19. And while 19 served as an excellent debut album for the young singer, 21 brought Adele a higher level of fame and attention that greatly surpassed anything she experienced the first time around. In fact, the paparazzi in London were after her so much that they were waiting outside of her home to get a glimpse of her. Adele was looking for a way to deal with the fame and attention she was receiving due to the success of her album. This is what brought her to a mansion in West Sussex. The mansion, named Lock House, was built in 1900 and it is styled in the 1930s Art Deco look. The house has a long history, even once serving as a convent. The mansion has 10 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, and 8 reception rooms. And if you think the indoors is the only amazing part of this property, you would be wrong. The mansion is surrounded by 25 acres of land and actually has views of South Downs National Park. It includes 2 swimming pools, tennis courts, and even a helicopter pad. Not only that, but there are also electric gates. You think that Adele would be completely comfortable and completely safe. How could anyone infiltrate the security of this property? And for about $20,000 a month in rent, you think there'd be nothing to worry about. Well, as in many ghost stories, the call was coming from inside the house. And unfortunately, electric gates are useless in those cases. In 2012, Adele gave Anderson Cooper a tour of the mansion during an interview. While showing him around, she first stated that this house is a bit of a cliche really, before walking down a dark hallway after telling Anderson Cooper that it used to be a convent, saying, "This bit's all quite scary really." Anderson Cooper responded, "You ever see The Shining?" So it seemed he agreed that the mansion was somewhat creepy. Throughout the tour, Cooper acknowledges that there is hardly any furniture in the mansion, while also detailing that the house has 9 more bedrooms than Adele really needs. Adele mentions that there are full wings of the mansion that she doesn't use at all. A huge old mansion built at the turn of the 20th century with a large percentage unused and empty and a history of being used as a convent sounds like a recipe for a haunting. So what supernatural events did Adele experience in this mansion? She heard unexplained noises, and a friend reported that Adele said that the mansion gave her the creeps. This was apparently due to the noises she heard at night. The noises included sounds of falling items, but Adele wasn't able to find these fallen items. Adele was so convinced that the place was haunted, and even wondered if its religious history had anything to do with it, she became too afraid to be there on her own, especially at night. To deal with her fear, she hired a bodyguard to live with her, and 2 more bodyguards to stand guard outside. Clearly, whatever it was scared Adele enough for her to leave the mansion entirely after living there for around a year. While the mansion seemed like a perfect place, considering it gave Adele her privacy in the lap of luxury. It seems that the unwanted guest made it unlivable for her. No number of bodyguards, sleeping over or otherwise, seemed to be enough for this singer to stay there forever. Number 2. Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt has become one of the most recognizable faces in Hollywood. One of his early roles in Thelma and Louise established him as a heartthrob, but later, roles in Legends of the Fall, 7, 12 Monkeys, and Fight Club established Pitt as a dramatic lead, and Ocean's 11 and Mr. and Mrs. Smith highlighted Pitt's comedic side. Pitt also has an illustrious producing career with his production company, Plan B, with a roster of award-winning films, including Troy, 12 Years a Slave, If Beale Street Could Talk, and Vice. Pitt's career goes far back and has been steady ever since. There's probably only one possession that has been with him since the beginning: his home. Pitt moved into his home, which is called Craftsman or Briarcliff Manor, in 1994. The property was originally 5,600 square feet and is situated in Los Feliz, Los Angeles. Over the years, Pitt had renovations done on the house and expanded the property. Now the entire property is 80,000 square feet. The home has 6 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, and Pitt added a water slide, pool, bouncy house, and skate park. Many of these changes were to accommodate the needs of his growing family, as the home was purchased soon after he started seeing success in his movie career, but before he had a brood of kids to keep entertained. Interestingly, like Pitt, the house has its own Hollywood history. While it was built for an oil baron in 1910, the house was also owned by Mark Hamill in the 1960s. Hamill is of course best known for playing the role of Luke Skywalker in the Star Wars movies. In fact, Hamill lived in the house when one of the tragic events occurred. It was while living at Briarcliff that Hamill's roommate took his own life. And unfortunately, that's not the only tragic event to have taken place in the home. There is also another story that a member of the Ziegfeld Follies, a theatrical revue troupe, was found dead in the pool. This was not known to Cassandra Peterson when she purchased the house. Peterson is an actress who has been working in film and television since the 1970s, with her most famous role as Elvira in Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. Given that her most famous role is the Mistress of the Dark, you would think that a haunted mansion would be exactly what she was looking for. Alas, this is a reminder that actors aren't always the same people that they portray on screen. Pearson recounted that she had many unwanted ghostly guests make themselves at home there. The unwanted house guests started making themselves known immediately after Pearson moved in. The first encounter with them occurred while she was moving in. When moving boxes, Pearson asked the movers not to go to the 3rd floor. She then heard footsteps on the 3rd floor and went up to confront the movers. However, the movers were nowhere to be seen. And the spookiness didn't end there. Pearson even claimed to have seen 2 ghosts. She said that they looked so real that she spoke to them until they disappeared before her very eyes. One particularly creepy encounter was with a ghost who seemed to be dressed as a nurse from the 1930s. The ghost told Peterson that she was going to take her husband into the pool. Peterson was terrified to the point where she not only had a Native American shaman clear the place, but also invited a Catholic priest over as well. Unfortunately for Pearson, but fortunately for Pitt, Pearson couldn't deal with the otherworldly interactions she was having and decided to leave. She sold the house to Pitt in 1994 for $1.7 million. Apparently, the ghost stories were a major attraction for Pitt. Unlike for many people, they contributed to his decision to buy the home. Luckily, or perhaps unluckily, Brad Pitt hasn't experienced any ghostly encounters himself while living there. Perhaps it was the sad and disturbing history of the house that caused Pearson's ghostly interactions while living there. I suppose we will never know. That is, unless Brad Pitt comes forward with new stories. Number 1. Britney Spears and Brittany Murphy. The final entry on this list includes one house and two Britneys. Britney Spears and Brittany Murphy were two stars in the late 1990s and early 2000s. While Spears dominated the pop music scene with hits like Baby One More Time, Oops, I Did It Again, and I'm a Slave for You, Murphy was starring in some of the most popular movies, including Clueless, Girl Interrupted, and 8 Mile. While it doesn't appear as though the two crossed paths at the height of their careers, they do have one fairly significant experience in common. They both lived on Rising Glen Road in a gigantic home. The home is situated at the top of the Sunset Strip. At 10,000 square feet, the house seemed like the perfect place for the Hollywood stars to call home. However, the house had its own tragedy before reaching its own end. Could a Reiki healer be responsible? The house was first lived in by Spears. Spears lived there with her then boyfriend, pop star, and former member of NSYNC, Justin Timberlake. And it's here that the Reiki healer became involved. It would seem that before the fateful day, Spears had no issues at all with the home. One day, after a particularly eventful party weekend, Spears had a Reiki healer come over. After he finished his treatment, Spears felt a shift in the home. Julianne Kay, who formerly served as Spears' makeup artist, claimed that Spears contacted her to tell her that the Reiki healer opened some spirit portal or something. And it would turn out that these spirits weren't particularly friendly. Kay continued, these bad spirits had come in, and Spears was convinced they were trying to push her down the stairs or something crazy. Spears' feeling about these spirits was so strong that she told Kay that she couldn't stay in the house. She immediately went to Casa Del Mar Hotel and never returned to Rising Glen Road. Either Murphy was unaware of these happenings or wasn't concerned because she and her husband, Simon Monjack, moved into the home in 2003. While they lived there for 6 years together, it wouldn't be a happy time for the couple. In the documentary, What Happened, Brittany Murphy, it is revealed that friends and family members were worried about Murphy's relationship with Monjack. In fact, people close to Murphy held an intervention with her prior to her marriage, hoping to convince her not to go through with it. It's alleged that Monjack was a very controlling husband and cut Murphy off from friends and family during the course of their marriage. Regrettably, the ending of their story is just as sad. In 2009, at the age of 32, Murphy collapsed in the Rising Glen Road home in her bathroom. She had been suffering from pneumonia and flu-like symptoms in the days leading up and had to be rushed to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. Unfortunately, Murphy passed away as a result of her symptoms. In a scary and yet odd turn of events, her widowed husband also passed away in the home only a few months later. He had similar symptoms to Murphy. There have been speculations over the years that Murphy and Monjack perhaps had illegal drugs in their systems, but the coroner found no illegal drugs in Murphy's system at the time of her death. In fact, they only found prescription and over-the-counter medications in her autopsy. Due to the strangeness of Murphy and her husband both dying within months of each other in the same house with the same symptoms, many theories have developed as to what the real cause of death could be. One hypothesis is that there was mold found in the home. However, mold was later dismissed as the culprit by the medical examiner. Another, more disturbing theory suggests that they were poisoned by Murphy's own mother, Sharon Murphy. This has been dismissed by many as unlikely, as Sharon and Brittany were incredibly tight and had a great relationship. The exact cause of death remains a mystery to this day, because many people are skeptical that Murphy died of pneumonia. However, Monjack reported that, like Spears, Murphy found something off about the mansion on the top of Sunset Strip. He claims that she thought that the home was unlucky and absolutely hated the Rising Glen house. She even went as far to ask her husband to stay at the Beverly Hills Hotel rather than stay in their home. Murphy wanted to move away entirely. She was even making plans to move the family, including her husband and her mother, to New York that following year. Sadly, she wouldn't have that opportunity. Ultimately, whatever evil forces Spears and Murphy felt in their home are no longer there. The entire house was demolished in 2013. A new home was built in its place and sold in 2017 and again in 2020. Of course, this hasn't ended the speculation of what could have caused Murphy and Monjack's deaths. Those theories will likely live on much longer than the house ever did. Thank you so much for watching this video. We hope you found it interesting. If you did find it interesting, please make sure you subscribe. We'll have a new video about the paranormal every week. If you just discovered this channel, please make sure you check out our other channel, Criminally Listed. We have over 325 videos featuring bizarre but true crime stories. You can find it at youtube.com/criminallylisted. We also have a podcast about cold cases that were eventually solved called Criminally Listed Presents Into the Killing. You can find it on Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon Music, and anywhere you find great podcasts. But that's all for today. Thanks again for watching.